You're listening to Inside the Minds podcast with Dante Marsh and Ryan Hyde, where we talk about sports, life, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about.
31-yard penalty to support pass interference call against the Lions this year. County out of the hands, and there's Dante Marsh with the block. And it's going to be a pick six for the veteran. 29th career interception. Almost on cue. 80-yard return for the 10-year veteran.
It happens. I mean, one of my actually the receiver coach who I used to work with, who we were just talking about, he told me that like 2/3 of the league is juicing, the NFL.
Oh yeah.
And because he's like, dude, I lived with all those guys, and they're sitting there. He went into someone's apartment that he moved into after some guy on his club at the Packers, and he's like, yeah, bro, there were like needles and shit in the fucking closet. And
Wow.
I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, these guys, like, obviously they're very gifted athletically, and that's not to say that they aren't, but you look at some of these guys who play linebacker. I mean, they're 4'5", 40s, and like 6-7% body fat, like 250 and 6'5". Like, there's got to be some sort of facilitant there.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And then not only that, but their ability to come back from injuries on a dime, right?
Oh, bro. Yeah. 100%. That's very true.
Yeah.
That's bro, have you heard of deer antler spray?
No, I haven't. But you need to tell me about it.
So deer antler spray is basically I don't know exactly what the natural breakdown of compounds or whatever it is, but the basis of it is it's something that you can spray, and they basically take like the velvety kind of outside texture off of deer antlers.
Yeah.
They do it in the form of, from there, once they get it, they either put it in the pills or they put it in the spray. And the spray is put in your mouth, and the pills obviously you just take normally. But what it basically does is that I think it kind of just kicks your body into overdrive. Like Ray Lewis took deer antler spray when he tore his triceps before an AFC championship game or something like that, and 2 weeks later he was playing in the Super Bowl. Like, you tear your triceps, man. Like, you're not, like, that's not an easy injury to come back from. So when he started taking deer antler spray along with his rehab, and he was able to come back.
Wow. That's crazy, man. That's absolutely crazy. I gotta find me this stuff. Just kidding.
No, dude, I was gonna start taking it, but a while ago, but I don't know. I haven't done enough research on it, because like, if it like kicks you into overdrive, then I'm about it. But as long as it's not like replacing like a bodily function, like your body's ability to produce this chemical or this hormone, like if it's like facilitating the natural development, then yeah. But if it's like replacing it, then I'm not about that, because like my body works pretty damn well right now. So
exactly. And it's such a cop-out, man. It's such a cop-out. I mean, I got a buddy of mine who's quite younger than me, who's into taking steroids and working out, and he was growing like a cyst on his pec.
Ooh.
Like, and just some crazy stuff. And he was lucky that his doctor agreed to help him through the process of getting through whatever he was going through. But I mean, you basically become a mad scientist with your body.
You do, bro.
Like, what the hell?
I had a friend, bro. Like, I had a friend who this isn't any of my old SC teammates. Just to let me preface it by saying that.
Yeah.
It was a kid who my brother and I knew from our hometown of San Diego, and he had like this shot, then it has to be balanced out with that shot, which in turn has to be taken with this shot every 3 days. It's just like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah, right.
You're so right about the mad scientist thing.
Yeah, and then it's education found on the internet. Like that's how they're
Oh my
educating
gosh,
themselves
yeah.
to deal with their bodies. It's like, you have got to be kidding me,
Yeah, I know. So much for a medical degree, huh?
right? Yeah, I got a buddy of mine who does steroids right now. He doesn't even work out. I don't even know why he's doing steroids, man.
What the hell for?
I have no idea. And he's pretty big. I could just imagine how big he would be if he started working out. Does nothing.
Yeah.
Injects himself. I was like, what are you doing?
I wonder if any like college strength coaches juice. I mean, like these guys are huge. Like,
right?
They're huge. Like they're fucking brick houses.
Yeah. I mean, you're a baseball fan. I know that I'm older than you, but I remember Mark McGwire when I was a kid was pinner. There was nothing to him. And then he comes back, a little bit of growth. He's huge.
Same with Barry Bonds, dude.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Right. And then the rumors of Canseco injecting McGuire in the ass under the bleachers at the Oakland A's stadium. Like that's apparent how it started, apparently.
Fuck. That is hilarious.
Yeah. I actually have, I don't know if I have it here. No, it's downstairs. I have one of Canseco's books. I can't remember which one it is, but I should read it. I'm not a big reader, and then I got really busy with college, but I need to read that book.
Is it like an autobiography or something?
Yeah.
It's a tell-all.
The tell-all of how he shot up Mark McGwire in the ass with a needle under the bleachers of Oakland Coliseum. Yeah. Like, come on,
dude. You know what, dude? I'm not trying to interrupt you, but as soon as we started talking
water
about
bottles.
Not water bottles, different company. Literally just showed up. My girlfriend's dad just gave me a box. Fucking, I shit you not. Like, this company actually came with a bag. Like they did. So I've got to mention them.
That's awesome. Mention away, man.
All right, so it's called New Ethics. All right, bet.
Nice.
Protein powder, bro. If you want some protein powder, I'm sure I could hook it up for you.
Yes, sir. I actually had to cut protein powder out for school. Some costs have to go, and that was one of them.
What? Oh yeah, I see that. I feel that. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways you can get it, so it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, steak and chicken, man.
I gotta figure out a place to like implement this. Let me see. What should I do? Should I do some gourmet greens right now?
Yeah, let's do them on camera, man, on the podcast. Let's go.
All right, there we go. All right, I got my New Ethics stuff just came in. This is actually really cool. We're getting some exclusive shit right now, huh?
We're getting exclusive.
Shout out fucking New Ethics, dude. Like they really came through. This stuff looks really good.
Nice.
Ooh, that smells really good too, actually. Oh wow. Check this out. See if you can see it. It's red on the inside. Ooh.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah. We saw it.
Saw it here first. All right, let's see. All right, let me put this bitch in there.
All right. For our listeners, we're sitting here right now with Chris Caulk, walk-on for UFC. Sorry, that's USC, not UFC. Let me get my pronunciation there right. How's it going today, Chris?
I'm great, Ryan. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, I'm sorry it took so long. As we talked about earlier, life throws you its curveballs, and you need to learn how to hit them. And
absolutely,
we're out here hitting them. Exactly, man. And you hit some long bombs for sure yourself. So,
well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
How's
Looking
that
forward to stack and more of those long bombs for sure.
Hell yeah! How's that tasting, buddy?
Dude, it's actually really good.
Is it wicked?
Oh, it is wicked. Oh my gosh. For all those listening, New Ethics Gourmet Greens, I'll tell you what, man, you will not be disappointed. These taste really good. I just got them in the mail about 5 minutes ago.
We got to try and get this in Canada.
Oh yeah. Do you think? I'm pretty sure they ship up there.
Oh yeah.
I'll see what I can do about getting you guys some.
Thanks, man. Oh, and we've been promised stuff too. Actually, Pat Miletich. You know Pat Miletich, right?
That name sounds super familiar.
UFC. So he fought in like UFC 5 and on, I believe it was 5. Anyways, we had him as a guest on the show, and he was trying to get us some stuff called Black. I don't even remember what it was for. He was promising us a bunch of stuff, never showed up. So
What was it a supplement?
yeah, it was a supplement.
Was it like a I'm not trying to get at Pat Miletich right now, obviously, but like was it like a normal supplement, or was it like a UFC supplement?
No, it was very normal. Yeah, no, it was normal. Something to do with
oh my, that's
like
really good.
Like a detoxifier of some kind.
Cool.
So anyways, if that ever comes back and we ever hear about it, I'll let you know, man.
Yeah, definitely, please do.
It's legit, so it's all good. It's definitely legal.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
You can't mess around with illegalities these days.
No.
Why would you want to? Why would you want to?
Exactly. We don't need to be mad scientists with our bodies.
No, we'll leave that for other people.
Yeah, even if somebody like Pat Miletich tells me to take it, I'm, sorry, Pat, but gonna think twice.
Yeah, completely agree. Do your own research.
Exactly. So Chris, let's get into this a bit while we wait for Dante to finally show up. Talk to us a bit about your childhood.
So, as I've mentioned a bunch of times before, football is a really late development for me. I was always a baseball player. I mean, I never played I didn't play organized football until 7th grade, until I was parochial league, and I wasn't Catholic, but Catholic school, like intramural flag football.
Yeah.
And I played that for 7th and 8th grade, and that's where I kind of got introduced to like organized football, even though it was such like a small scale. But I'd always loved catching passes and route running and doing all that kind of stuff with my dad or with my friends or with my brother. So football, like as it relates to my childhood, definitely there was a huge component of it, but it wasn't in the sense of like you're going and playing Pop Warner or you're traveling to the IE for tournaments and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how my childhood, at least as related to football, goes.
Okay. So you started out playing baseball, and you must have been, let me guess, an outfielder. Had to have been.
Oh yeah. Started out as a first baseman just because I was taller than everybody, and I had and I had good hands. I mean, height and good hand-eye coordination. Who would have thought I'd be a wide receiver, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, no, I played outfield. I made the transition to outfield when I was middle school or something like that, and I just loved playing outfield because it was, I don't know how to describe it. Like I had every time I'd see a ball, football or baseball or shit, I don't even know, like tennis ball in the air, like I get a dopamine rush and want to go after and catch it. So that's how it inevitably would kind of play out, at least as far as the passions aspect is concerned.
That's awesome. I wonder if there's a bit of dog in you. I mean, really, like.
Yeah, the tennis ball thing got you, huh?
Right. Yeah. Kind of reminds me of my dog a little bit. Yeah. So those of you too that are watching this, we've got my cat in here today with us because she's going to cry at the door. And yeah. So Bella, welcome to the podcast. She's sleeping. Welcome. She's out cold, man. She's out cold.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
There we go. So Chris, did your parents, so a lot of parents really push their kids into sports. Yeah. And it gets to a point where it gets like ultra crazy. We're talking like competitive parents swearing, all this kind of crazy stuff. Were your parents like that, or they're like, if Chris wants to play, he can play kind of thing?
My parents were by no means the crazy travel parents. Like they were very much, they definitely weren't like kumbaya, super holistic as that relates, but like they wanted us to like go and do it, like develop at our own pace. Okay. Like my brother didn't start playing travel ball until he was 12 or something like that, maybe even a little bit older, 10 or 11 or 12. I mean, and I never really played organized. I didn't play club ball until I was in high school. Okay. I mean, to a certain degree, like that was probably to my like detriment a little bit, especially as far like getting on the circuit and doing that kind of stuff. But my parents were super like laid back, and they weren't, like I said, holistic in it. They were just kind of, you love the game, but like work your ass off to play the best you can. I mean, my brother and I are both very naturally gifted as far as athletics are concerned. So everything kind of came easy to us, at least as far as like, I mean, when you're a kid and as intangibles are concerned, like you can catch, you can hit, you can run, you can track fly balls, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So my parents just kind of let us develop at that kind of leisure.
Okay. Not putting in a half-assed effort if you're going to do something.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're going to do something, you need to put your all into it. That could be riding a bike. It could be hitting a baseball. It could be getting your driver's license, to anything, your first job, all of it. No half-assed efforts.
There's nothing that comes, nothing. Well, here's the way I look at this, because I think that there's nothing of value in life comes easy.
No.
So the only way to assure that you're going to achieve what you really want is by putting in 10x effort. And like, I hate saying, I like the concept of 10x effort, but I got it from a book called the 10x rule by Grant Cardone. And people have like mixed opinions on Grant Cardone because they think he's kind of like a salesman, but the principle itself is still very sound. So I like the principle. I hate the what's the word I'm looking for? Like the discrepancy of why people dislike or like the guy, But anyways, The thing that I will say is that if you're not putting 100% effort into something, that probably is geared, I don't want to butcher this, so it probably gives you a pretty good understanding of what you don't want to do in your life.
Yeah.
For instance, like I was pre-law at USC. Some of the stuff, like I was good at it. Like I was really good. Like, I mean, but I hated writing the essays. Like I really hated it. It was just boring. I just didn't want to do it. Like, and it just came to the conclusion, like, okay, this just isn't what I want to do as far as being a lawyer or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it just gives you not going in 10xing effort, so to speak. It's going to hold you back as if it's related to something that's valuable, but you have to also think about it from the perspective, okay, if I'm not really feeling this and not really passionate about this, then this probably isn't something that I should be really chasing and fully pursuing. That makes sense?
Yes, it 100% does. Yep, absolutely. Another thing that got me was I started working out later in life. I was probably 35, 36. I actually just built a home gym in my garage, got into lifting weights and stuff. Yeah, it's good times, right? I hate being in a gym. We can talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Basically, though, I started to compete with myself. And if I could do one thing one day and I could do it well, I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to keep going and keep beating myself until I got to where I'm at right now. Did you find, like some commons in that?
Oh, 1,000%, dude. So a lot of my journey that I had as far as USC is concerned, it's competition within yourself, because there's nobody, like when you're in junior college or when you're trying to get to SC or a school like SC, with regards to all the people who want to go there. And for my experience and personally being so far behind the 8 ball to get there, like I had 2 knee surgery. I had 1 knee surgery in like my first week of playing organized high school football, which I didn't start until I was a senior in high school anyways. And that's just for a little bit of context. And I had almost no experience, no recruiting, yada, 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 all that kind of stuff. So I had such a huge mountain to climb. And I was so far in my own lane, whether it be by design or just because nobody else was there at that point. Somebody like myself who was either crazy enough to believe that with the current skill set that I had at that point could play at USC, which is like wild just to think about, especially having known experience. A lot of those times when you're in the gym by yourself, or you're scheming to, okay, I need to do this, that, or this, or when you're going to junior college and you're going to school, like no one's holding your feet to the fire. So you really do begin to compete within yourself and like, okay, I'm hitting this weight. I want to hit this weight by the next week. I want to get to this weight by the next week. And then I want to make sure I'm running this fast, or I want to go work out with my receiver coach this many times, So the idea, there's important aspects of exterior competition, but the biggest critic and the biggest competition you'll ever face is within yourself.
Yeah, I agree 100%. 100% I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, that drives just what keeps me going through this, man.
Oh yeah. nobody will be able to. Let me give some advice to anybody who's listening, and
Yeah.
being that we are inside the minds. Nobody will take you out quite like your own mind will.
That's right.
Nobody will take you out quite like your own mind will. Your own mind knows everything. Like it is a supercomputer in your head. It knows all of your weaknesses, all of your strengths, all of your insecurities, and there is not a competitor, not a force, not a team on earth that will be able to take you out quite like your own psyche will.
Exactly. And then your body will give up, and your mind's got to overpower that, because your body's going to tell you to quit all the time. It's going to say, I don't feel like it today. And you either, check in with your mind and follow through and set a goal, or you just stop doing it, man. You give up.
Have you read the book Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins?
I know who David Goggins is, but I have not read that book.
One of my favorite books I've ever read. And I really do admire David Goggins. As it relates to, I think he's a psycho. I love David Goggins in that regard. I mean, I just think that he's one of those guys where somebody like myself, who's now going into the new kind of aspect of what I'm doing in my life, like, I don't want to be Goggins for, but like, you want to use what David Goggins uses in your own life.
Yeah.
And I think he's such a psycho in his work ethic, and my work ethic is like nuts to begin with. But when you add a component of like, okay, you've got the 40% rule or whatever it is, I mean, that just takes it up a notch from where you're, like he says, being uncommon amongst the uncommon.
Yeah. Yeah. Goggins is just a beast. That guy's insane. Absolutely insane. And just some of the injuries he's overcome, some of the things he's done. So I just found out about him within the last year. And I mean, I follow him on Instagram, and it's the guy's insane.
No, it's true. I like David Goggins.
Yeah, me too. He's pretty awesome. So let's get into a little bit about your starting out playing football. I believe it was your senior year in high school.
Oh yeah.
Take us through that.
Let me give you some perspective. I mean, most kids are committed to USC by the time they're juniors or sophomores, except for the elite few who commit on like National Signing Day.
Yeah.
And that's because they have like 7 other D1 offers, or they've got their top 5 and they've got all their hats on the table and their whole school right there. Everyone's going. But people are getting looks from USC from the time of like 8th grade, and now that people are even going on the circuit earlier, they're getting looks from when they're younger.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's nuts, dude. But I had gotten cut from the baseball team my junior year of high school, and I was devastated by it, but I wasn't going to be soft about it. So I went to the gym the next day, and what I did was, from there, I started working out in the gym like crazy, because my intent was to be so good at baseball that they couldn't say no to me next year.
Yeah.
So basically after that, I decided, okay, I'm going to just pursue this and get really nasty at baseball. But about 3 weeks later, I see the football team coming in, and they were just coming in off the spring practice. And I see all these kids, go to school with them, and, they always walk around with the big fucking gallons of water, and they're all on the creatine, like, oh yeah, man, we're eating our breakfast burritos. They throw their hoods up, their AirPods in, like, or their ear, back then it was wired earpods, and they all think that they're better than them. Like, they all think they're better than everybody. But I saw these kids coming after spring practice. I'm like, these kids aren't all that. And, I mean, I consider myself like definitely a visionary. I don't want to say a visionary, because it's like very, very complimentary, although I do dream big and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But my work ethic definitely always backs it up. But I always see things like, okay, I don't doubt myself for a minute. So I look at these kids, I'm like, you know what? I could be better than them if I put my mind to it. Yeah. So what I basically did after that is like, you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna play football. And like I've got good hands. I'm gonna give it a shot. So I persuade I go ahead and persuade the head football coach at that high school. Like, hey, coach, like, I told him, like, I lied about my height and weight on the email, but I don't think he was fooled anyways. But I tell him, and I go meet with him. He goes, yeah, dude, if you want to come out, like, and give it a shot, let's do it. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I show up, and on the first day of summer workouts, all these kids are looking at me like, what are you doing here, Chris? Like you wear like a sweater vest at school. Like, and let me give you another like little bit of context. I was one of the biggest nerds for the first 3 years of high school. So
Yeah.
like it was like a real 180 for sure. It was a real 180.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. So did you have like any intuition at all to play football before that? Like, or is it just all baseball?
I was all baseball because that's what I love.
Yeah.
It's such a given at this point to say, but I was so much better at football than I was at baseball.
Wow.
But
yeah.
well, I mean, look, I ended up playing wide out at USC. Like,
Yeah.
and I got cut from the varsity team my junior year.
Yeah.
At baseball. So, I mean, I was just better at football. Like, and I think anybody would agree with that. But yeah, no, I had intuition as to what I wanted to do once I got in that grind mode and once I got into that kind of process. Yeah, absolutely. But when I was kind of just playing ball or whatever, not really. I mean, I was like, yeah, I mean, I liked football. Like I always had good hands and that kind of stuff. But that was really the only intuition I had about it.
Yeah. So this is a crazy thought, and I'm sure you thought it in the past, is if that coach never cut you from the baseball team, your football, I mean, USC, that probably never would have happened.
That's the fucking worst. That's like the scariest, but the most true thought. I hate, dude, I mean, there's just times where you look back and like, no matter how much you get mad at a certain situation or like, God, why is this happening?
Yeah.
You honestly can't like think, I can't like detach like, fuck man, like there's something out there, like at least as far, I mean, like at least from my perspective, no matter how mad you can get at certain points, like, and I'm very advanced in like why I believe what I believe and that kind of stuff, but
yeah,
like from a very elementary level, like it's almost so crazy it's almost like impossible to like consider that such a negative can lead to such a positive without some sort of intervention.
Yeah. There's definitely, we can talk about that too, Chris.
Yeah.
There's definitely other forces at work when it comes to these things, and whether or not,
Yeah, you're right, bro. You're absolutely right. Like the other forces, I believe to be God. Like I believe that is God.
Yeah.
Like Chris, you're not going to make the varsity baseball team your junior year, but boy, do I tell you what, you're going to play wide receiver at USC. I mean, even then, I was like, all right, I believe it, but what the hell?
So when you look around and you see people struggling, and there's a lot of that right now, just the way the world is right now, and it's getting a lot worse, and it's probably going to get worse. These people need these forces to help them. How come it doesn't happen?
That's the inevitable question. That's something that I as well as my brother have struggled with, and I'm really glad you asked me this question, because I've been on some faith podcasts too, and it's all hunky dory, like, oh, God did this in your life, but no one really ever looks at like the depths of what people actually go through.
Yeah.
And I've been going through my own struggles, dude. Like I've had some really hard struggles recently, and it's like it can almost bring tears to my eyes, because no matter how mad I get at a certain situation, I can't help but like think like let me give you an example. Like one we just talked about was obviously getting cut from baseball, but like I'm moving on to a different aspect of my life now, and had the opportunity that I've been working in prior not kind of gone belly up to a degree, I wouldn't be going at this new aspect.
Yeah.
But it's so easy for Christians in particular. And I got into an argument with another Christian guy on TikTok recently, because I call these like very like naive Christians, coffee shop Christians, because they sit in their coffee shops, highlight their Bible, 11 different freaking highlighter colors. They sit there with all this kind of stuff, and they have no idea what it's like to struggle in your faith.
Yeah.
And it drives me insane, because it gives the faith such a soft look. But to answer your question, I can't, unless God, which I don't believe to be like that. I've listened to thousands of apologetics videos, read books, all that kind of stuff. God either is a moral monster, meaning like
Yep.
he allows some people to struggle or not,
Yeah.
or he has to recognize, or you have to recognize like there is an order and process by which people who are in positions like I believe myself to be in, like I really cannot wait to get to the point where I'm able to help these people all around the world and talk,
Yep.
because it's, people love to use the example like, okay, God can push his finger and use that and use like, okay, he's going to wave his finger and there's going to be rain in the Serengeti or this kind of stuff.
Yep.
But in reality, God does a bunch of amazing work through people. And think about it, like there's the atheists and a lot of people say, okay, would you rather have prayer or would you rather have God? Or rather prayer or a doctor? It's like, well, God works through doctors. God can work through people.
Yeah.
And that's just, so like it's a question that I really can't answer because one, I'm not God.
Yeah.
But two, like I mean, the apologetics answer is like, okay, if there's struggles and such like that, then like there's got to be a reason for it, and it's tough to like rationalize that with people.
Yeah.
But at the same point, like I understand why people don't have a certain, because that requires a level of faith that some people don't have.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them for having that faith. But
Yeah.
this morning, and I don't mean to be too long-winded in this
No,
particular
it's good,
question,
man.
but
Yeah.
no, but like I have a lot to say because I've been really struggling recently. Not
Yeah.
so much in like my faith, so to speak, but maybe yeah, definitely in my faith. But like I'm just gonna be open and transparent. Like I've been struggling in that
100%,
a little
man.
bit.
Yeah.
But
Give
at the same, I think that I got a message this morning or yesterday morning from a podcast that I had recently been on, and I'm not sure if you listen to any of my prior shows, but I had been like pretty outward about my faith and what I believe and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like recently, like I said, like I've been really struggling with this kind of stuff. And out of nowhere, one of the hosts hit me up. And this podcast is called Juvie Podcast. And any teenager that may or may not be listening should go check this out. Like it is an amazing podcast.
Yeah.
And what they did is this girl, I don't know where she's from. I don't know if she's from, she's actually from New York, I think. Just regardless of that. She was like, her dad died or something like that. And she just stopped going to church and stopped believing in God because like a lot of people, when they have struggles and stuff like that, it's easy. Like it's very, like I don't blame them. Like how could God take away your dad or your brother or whatever,
Yeah.
And it's very, very like rational to believe that. Like I don't know where the hell I would be if God took away my brother, or my girlfriend, love of my life, like
or your parents or whatever, right?
Parents, absolutely, whoever it is that's close to you. I don't know where I would be, but at the same point, this girl happened to find their podcast on TikTok, I believe, because they're pretty big on TikTok. They and the first video the first podcast she listened to was mine.
Wow.
And she goes and listens to my story and my faith, and she's like, she emails them and tells them that my story and my faith caused her to go back to church and become a believer.
Wow.
And I heard that, and in the context of all the shit that I've been dealing with as far as like faith or life or whatever is concerned, I started crying when I heard that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I started crying, dude. Like I'm like welling up a little bit right now just thinking about it. But I'm like, how can I doubt that like there is this God like who I'm like, it's so tough to materialize into words.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like that's such a like amazing feeling knowing that you helped kids in particular, or helped anybody in that matter.
Yeah.
Like that's like this whole idea of purpose too. I mean, I think a lot of people are very love to use like, let me give you another example. I'm sorry if I'm taking this.
No, man, go ahead. We're good, man. We're good. We're good.
All these, like I said, the coffee shop Christians, and I bet like if some of them listen to this, they're gonna come at my fucking neck. But I'll tell you what, all those Christians were like, they're very self-righteous in their own regard, so I'm not really super concerned about it. Anyway, so they a lot of kids, like in particular, whatever, they say like, oh, have faith. If someone told me like, if my mom, like you said, I think your mom, you said someone had cancer in your family, a couple of people had cancer in your family.
Yeah.
If someone came up to me and said, "Oh, Chris, you just got to have faith," I'd basically tell them to go F themselves. Like,
Yeah.
you like, that's such as much as it may be true, as much of a believer as I am, there's no possible situation where hearing it from somebody else, especially somebody who really doesn't know what they believe, why they believe what they believe, it is probably the most impersonal thing that you could say, no matter how true it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, if you and I are having this conversation, like, look, man, like, I completely understand. I have no idea why. Like, there's a level of faith you got to have, but like, it's so impersonal just to be like, okay, God's got it, or have faith. It's just so impersonal because it just completely, they go on with their day after they say it to you, and then you're just kind of sitting there with your own issues, like thinking, okay, why am I believing this? What am I doing? You know, no matter how true it may be, and no matter how big of a victory there might be at the other side.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
And Chris, to think that, I'm assuming one of the reasons why you're doing podcasts is to help people achieve their goals. And to think that you inadvertently helped a girl with such an, to getting back into finding God, and that was probably never your game plan, and it happened. I mean, that's got to give you an amazing feeling,
it really is, dude. It really is, Ryan, because like one of my goals in my life is to help kids in particular, in a bunch of different ways. I think that whether it be achieving goals or teaching, or like creating programs for financial literacy, or just being, or within the faith too. I mean, there's so many different things that, or I mean, if you go abroad, there's so many issues of hunger and drought in all the world. And I want to be that person who inevitably goes and assuages that pain. I want to do that for kids. Like, and to think that like, why certain bad things happen. It's like, I could never answer that. But Chris, at the same,
sorry to cut you off, man. This is where this gets me, because I was just thinking about mental health. I work with people with mental health and drug addictions for work. I can't go too far into things, but there was a 13-year-old girl who was struggling with suicide. And when I heard that, dude, when I first met the girl, I thought, wow, she's such an awesome girl. She reminds me of my daughter. She's friendly, she's polite, she's funny. Just the way she carried herself reminded me of my daughter. And something came out, and she was suicidal. And she would come to me and talk to me, and I would ask her how her day was, and she'd be like, "Oh, I had a terrible day. I've been thinking these thoughts." And I was like, holy fuck, dude, pardon my language, but I was like, right? So I'm like,
it's a tough one, dude.
Digging in my toolbox. What can I find? What can I give? And it was actually pictures of my cat and my dog is what got a smile on her face.
Oh,
right. So my cat looks pissy and cranky in every single picture, and she found that funny. I'm like, look, Bella looks cranky. Look, Bella looks mad. Look at Bella's doing this. And then the same with my dog. And she'd walk up to me and she's like, "Did you take any more pictures of Bella and Bruce today for me?" And I'd be like, "Yeah," and just show them to her and just be there for her. And the thought, her saying that she would get picked on in school and never was given a chance, like, it was like tugging at me, dude. And it's crazy, dude. To hear a 13-year-old say that I'm suicidal is the last thing on earth I ever want to hear again. And it is terrible. And it starts younger than that, man.
No, I know, dude. It's just becoming a real issue, especially like, I think a lot of it has to do with certain aspects of social media. I think there's a time and place, or I think there is a good amount of good things that can come from social media. Like, but at the same point, there's just so much toxicity out there. People are trying to be different things and trying to be this when they're so young, or when they're 14, or, it's like, I can't help but think that like, there's a lot of mental health implications regarding or surrounding social media. And it's like, it's so proven, but at the same point, it's also so integral in our daily lives that it's almost not going anywhere. Yeah. It's just, you got to figure out a way to adapt to it.
Yeah. And you think too, like when I went home from school, I mean, I was born in 78. I graduated in 96. When I went home from school, that was it. You never talked to anybody if you didn't want to, unless they phoned you. That was it. So now kids, they don't get a break from any of it because of social media.
Yeah.
You know, it's just nonstop. And I couldn't even imagine dealing with that shit, man.
No, dude. No, I understand that. Like sometimes those biggest valleys can lead to the highest mountains too, though.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I think that regardless of like, this is like I told you, I'm very like, I don't want to say like advanced in my faith to make myself sound like sanctimonious or whatever.
Yeah.
But if I'm coming to someone on like an elementary, very general basis level, like you can see like aspects of like a huge valley and then a huge up. Like those are aspects like, okay, there has to be something else at play. And I believe that to be, you know, God. And Ryan, like I appreciate the fucking question you just asked me, dude. The struggle question.
Man.
I've been wanting to answer these kind of questions because it's so important.
Yeah.
Because it's such a thing that so many people just love to brush over, even though it is so like, why is there so much struggle? It's like, I can't answer that question. I never will be able to. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the things that God gave me and my inherent desire to help people to try and pacify that pain in any way in any person that I can.
100%, man. I totally agree. And that's what the show's all about. That's what this podcast is about too. Dante and I ran a whole episode on our own personal struggles with mental health. And it was an amazing show. I don't know if you've seen that yet, but definitely check that one out because him and I have both dealt with stuff like that, you know, and everybody does, unfortunately. And people need to know that there's avenues and people care to talk to them. And there's, you know,
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, it's crazy. Another crazy story for you, actually, and this gets into, I don't know if you think that, and you probably would agree that we all have angels at our sides at all times. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I think that like God can send angels and send the spirit to guide you and protect you and keep you out of situations. I was watching a video the other day about the Nashville bombing. A security guard was walking on the street and he said that God said turn around, and he walked around, and then down that street was the car that blew up on Christmas last year.
Wow.
So it's like, I mean, there's a lot of that kind of stuff, and all the stuff where you get pissed off that you're in traffic, or it's like maybe if I was 5 minutes earlier, I wouldn't make it home that night, or you know, I mean, there's a lot of different stuff where whether it becomes mundane to a certain point because you experience it so many different times, where you're like, okay, it's just maybe like I went that way when I should have went this way. You know, I mean, thank goodness I went this way, not that way or that way, because you don't know what's down those. I mean, it could be nothing, but it could be something.
Exactly.
And you know, you just don't know.
No, I got a crazy story for you, and this is how it was proven to me that we have angels with us all the time. Back in 2001, I was in a really bad construction accident, and I fell 45 feet off a balcony at work.
Holy cow!
My lifeline failed, and I actually fell and I landed in a wheelbarrow. Okay, so that wheelbarrow saved my life.
Holy
Number
cow.
one, the tire was underinflated, so it totally took the compression of my fall. And this is where my angel comes in. That morning at 7:30, we were prepping for the day at work. We were pulling out the tools and getting set up. I grabbed the wheelbarrow full of tools and I brought it out and set it where I had set it. Okay, we emptied the wheelbarrow, used up the tools, whatever, it was empty. At 12:30, lunch was over. I walked by that wheelbarrow and something went off in my head and told me to move it. And then something else said, no, don't, just leave it. You don't need to do that right now. 10 minutes later, I landed in that wheelbarrow. I saved my own life. I'm not even making that up. That's 100% true.
Wow.
It's insane. If I had put that wheelbarrow anywhere else, I would have hit concrete. I would have been dead. I landed in that freaking wheelbarrow, dude. I saved my own life.
That's unreal.
So if that's not an example of angels being with you and there being other forces at play, I don't know what is, man.
I don't know what is either, dude. I mean, that's a compelling testimony.
Yep.
You know, it's like you get those things and like you can debate any aspect of faith all day long until the cows come home. But those kind of things where, you know, you have your miracle-based experience, your out-of-body experiences, or the situation like yours when you're just sitting there and an inch to the left and you're flat on the ground.
Yep.
I don't know how you could get around. I don't know how you could get around that.
It's insane, dude. So I landed feet first. I hit my head on the balcony on the way down, knocked myself unconscious, thankfully. So I was loose when I hit the ground, right? Wasn't all tense. I wrapped my left leg around my neck this way. So my ankle was over here, broken femur, collapsed lung, 7 broken ribs. And then I had a fat embolism in the hospital and some blood clots. And they told my family I had a 1 in 4 chance of living after falling 45 feet and living. So they were writing the ticket, dude. I was done. And I pulled through. And now I deal with blood clots on the daily. That just started in my 40s, but it's just the whole thing was insane, dude. Like, just like I need to reach out to somebody and write a book on it. Like, seriously, because it's
I'm sure that there are several different publications that would love to tell that story.
I need to find one.
I'm sure
if you know anybody, if you run into anybody, remember to keep that in the back of your head.
Definitely will.
So let's hear about your we kind of got sidetracked a little bit. You had your injury in high school football, like right off the hop, and take us through that.
The door seemed to be closed before it was even opened.
Yeah.
You sit there and you're like, all right, shit. I mean, I was so immature in my understanding of football and injuries that I thought, like, okay, maybe my body's gonna really hook it up and really just heal an ACL in 3 months.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. But
no.
So I tried it. I ended up tearing my meniscus on senior night, but at the same point, like, it's what needed to happen, because on that night, and this is another crazy example of, like, God thing for sure. And by the way, I give all glory to God for my journey. I do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, that night where I suited up for senior night, I was out there, and that night set my course for the play at USC. I just was on the field. There's just me and the guy in front of me, whoever the defensive back was. And I look around at the stands, and you can't see shit except for this black. And it's just like you're almost in a bubble. And I don't know if it's just like the psychological implications of it, or it's like actually how the lights fell down. But at the same time, I felt so good out there, and I was like, there's no way I can be done. And my brother came up to me after the game and said, Chris, like, you look so good out there. You can't be done. You got to keep playing.
Yeah.
And it didn't become clear until after I got surgery. I got off the operating table, and I said to myself, you know what? I'm playing football at USC, and that's final.
Wow.
So I just So I just went from there, and I guess the rest is history.
How your coaches weren't involved in saying you need to rest this injury, that you wouldn't be coming back that fast? Like, how does that work? Where you're like, I can just play with this.
The high school coaches that I had really didn't give a shit. Apparently. Like, they figured, they kind of wrote. Look, the head coach of the high school, I'll always give props to, Coach Doyle, and his son's a good dude too. But all the other assistant coaches, like, it was kind of like they're almost playing on house money with me. Like, I came in as a senior, and I was kind of out within like the first 3 months. So it's like, all right, nothing ventured, nothing gained. There's not a huge L there.
Yeah.
But at the same point, like, they didn't take me seriously as a football player. And then that's why I don't want to say I hold resentment or hold a grudge, but like, a lot of those kids, a lot of those assistant coaches who love to shit on me, like, I hold, I don't want to say I hold it, because you're not really supposed to do that, especially in the face, but like, I feel that way towards them for a particular reason.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I mean, the coaches really didn't care.
Yeah.
The only one, I didn't get the playbook until like September, and I had been asking for it since June. So no, it's like they really didn't give a shit. So
yeah.
So back to the point of, you got to be your own competition, because you can compete with everybody. And I was beating the fucking guys I was playing against. Like, you go in the one-on-ones, and I'm like, all right, I've never done this before, but it just looks like you just got to run the route and get open. Yeah. And then, you get better, and you're just like running routes against the kids, and like you're routing these fools, and you're going against the top receivers. Like, okay, you're going route for route. And it's like, look, if I had the freaking playbook, like I'm better than you guys, and I don't even have the playbook. I have to actually play it before the fucking huddle, after the huddle. So it's like, you got to compete with yourself, no matter how much, how little or how much the coaches are involved in your game, no matter how little or how much.
So how do you keep giving yourself, the only person giving a chance of you playing was you. So how do you tune out the haters? Don't listen to them when they're obviously telling you you're not going to play. You can't do this. You can't do that. How do you make anything out of that?
I would love to say that it's as easy as just like put your blinders on, but I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you to say this right now. Like, you hear every bit of it, and anybody will. Like, if you ask Bryce Young, the quarterback at Alabama, who's getting hated on after throwing an interception, or the guy who lost the national championship for somebody by throwing a pick six or whatever it is.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, you're going to read your Instagram comments. No matter what it is, you're going to look on Twitter. No matter what it is, you're going to hear from these idiots who are jawing at you and saying, oh, Chris doesn't go to SC. Chris can no way play at USC. They invite people to walk on. Chris, you've got no shot. You hear every bit of that, whether that be to your face or behind your back.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm going to tell you to do is, like, you have to listen to it, not because it's true, but because there's something that you may get from it.
Yeah.
You may understand, like, these kids are not coming from a position of love at all. But you can take that, like, all these kids hated on me, or all these kids are yada, 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 say whatever they want to say. And you use that every time I go onto a field, every fucking time. I'm not trying to curse a whole lot, but I find myself doing it a little bit. Every time I go on a field, I would think about that day where every one of those kids laughed at me to my face.
Yeah.
They laughed at me to my face when I said I was thinking about walking on at USC. I was in the locker room at my high school. Every single one of those kids laughed at me.
Wow.
And I'll never forget that. And I've said it a bunch of times on a couple different shows, but that's how you're able to move on from it. You take those kind of moments, or you take those kind of comments or whatever it is, you use those to drive you.
Yep.
Because that kind of shit, excuse me, sorry, I've got the hiccups. That kind of shit is what really can give you that edge that you may or may not have had before, because that is what gave me my edge.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. You take that hate and you turn it into fuel, and you light a rocket with it, and you go as far as you can go, right?
Who knows? Maybe you'll end up playing receiver at USC.
Exactly. Exactly. And we're talking right now with somebody who used that fuel and got to playing receiver at USC, which is crazy. That's one hell of a story, Chris.
Thank you, man.
It's one hell of a story. So what is in the future for you?
I studied law and real estate while I was at USC, and I've had some amazing opportunities in both. I am I'm part of a really awesome entertainment group right now, like an entertainment company, and make some really awesome content and compelling stories and awesome scripts and screenplays and that kind of stuff. And I think that I have very high hopes for it, but at the same point, like, I know that I'm going to be successful in whatever I end up doing. I just know that I won't let myself not achieve my goals, no matter what it is, big or small. I'll never, and that's the thing too. Like, I know I can bet on myself in just about anything. Put me in the mailroom and I'll end up in the president's office, and I guarantee that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stay in entertainment, and I you just never know what the future holds, though.
Exactly. I think a big thing for me right now and over the last year was, I like to call it faking it till you make it. And for me I started this podcast because there was going to be no CFL season. And I would always go to the Saskatchewan Rough Rider games in Vancouver to see Mike Eden play. And I would meet with Mike outside of the stadium, and I would try and think of things I could say to Mike to talk about. I mean, if you're going to meet a football player, what the hell are you going to talk about? So I'd think of questions to ask Mike. Anyways, the CFL season got canceled, and I wasn't going to be able to hang outside the stadium anymore. So I was listening, I think, to Joe Rogan podcast or something in my basement. And all of a sudden, a light bulb went off in my head and said, start a podcast. So I was like, okay, I can do this. And so I started reaching out to players to get them on the podcast, and people started accepting. Yeah, I'll come on. And I thought about bailing out, but a couple of the guys were like, you know what, just do it, man. Just see how far you can go with it.
Yeah,
with
see how far you can go.
Right? Just zero background in any kind of communications, any kind of nothing. I learned how to edit my own podcast videos on Adobe Premiere. I talked to you about meeting Dante, doing a show with him, and now we team up and we're doing shows together, and then going to school, learning, web development, build my own website. Like, it's just keep faking it, man. And I'm going to keep making it. That's just how it goes.
There you go. Just keep getting after it. Getting after it. And I can guarantee you this. I can guarantee for a lot. I mean, like, in regards to that, I can guarantee you, to anybody that's listening, that when you put your fucking nose to the grindstone and you just multiply your efforts in anything, I guarantee you that the best result or a freaking really good result will come from that. That is something I can guarantee for sure.
100%. I totally agree. And I don't want to keep you too much longer, but these kids that don't seem to have drive to do anything anymore, that scares me, dude. They're going to be running our countries.
The more ambitious ones will.
Yes, definitely the more ambitious ones. And the ones who aren't so ambitious, well, I hope you find your ambition, because you're going to need it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I hope for the best for everybody like that.
Me too.
I think everyone will inevitably hit their stride, and once they do, the real question is if you ever take that for granted or ever look back.
That's right. Chris, this has been a blast, man. I thank you for coming on. This is been a great conversation, and I would love to have you back on in the future with Dante if you're, willing to do it.
Absolutely. I'd love to run a part 2 for sure.
Definitely, man. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Inside the Minds podcast with Dante Marsh and Ryan Hyde. Check out our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter accounts to see our upcoming show announcements, links to our previous shows, and sound bites. And don't forget to hit that follow button while you're there.
Hey, this is Logan Bandy.
Hi, this is Zane Frazier.
This is Art Jimerson.
Chris Rainey.
This is Boots Electric, and thank you for joining me on my special guest spot on Inside the Minds podcast, where everybody wants to be if they're smart.
Good field position start, play action. Burr's going to load it up, but he's short on the throw. Intercepted. Dante Marsh has his 30th career interception and a good return back into Ottawa territory. Well, the usually strong-armed Henry Burris comes up short.